action.
Hey guys, Brett Weiss here. We're at the DFW Toy Expo in Arlington, Texas, which is between Dallas and Fort Worth. Thank you so much for tuning in. We're with Pixel Dan, a guest at the show. So what brings you to Arlington, Texas, all the way from?
Illinois.
So
Drove all the way here.
Just for this show?
Just for this show.
Well, that's awesome. Appreciate you coming out. So, what got you into toys and gaming and all that stuff to begin with?
Oh, geez. So, I've been a lifelong toy fan, right? Toys and video games both kind of go hand in hand for me because, I grew up with... the NES was my system growing up.
And how old were you when you got it?
I was about 5 years old when I got the NES.
Okay.
And so, just from that point on... I had an Atari 2600 before that because my parents had that.
Right,
so
right.
That,
old people like me.
That and the Commodore 64 were my first introduction to video games.
Good start.
Yeah, because my dad was big into computers. So we had a C64 in the house. We had an Atari 2600.
Right.
But when Nintendo came out, that was like...
That was a game changer.
That was
so
a game changer for me. There you go, yeah. But toys, of course, I've been a big fan of He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, specifically since I was a little kid.
Yeah.
I grew up in the era of He-Man and Ninja Turtles and
Did you see Thundar the Barbarian?
And Thundar the Barbarian.
That was a little bit before.
It was a little bit before, but I definitely watched it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. It kind of had a more serious edge to it than He-Man because it had legit comic book writers wrote Thundar.
Yeah.
Alex Toth created Toth, however you say it.
Right.
Created some of the character designs and stuff. So you grew up in a great time.
Absolutely.
During the 80s. Maybe the best decade for pop culture of all time.
No doubt about it, man. No doubt about it. Even into the early 90s. I feel like the early 90s is still bleed over from the 80s, right? Yes. So we still have
Well, every decade, the first part of that decade is basically the previous decade. Like the early 60s were basically the 50s.
Exactly.
The 60s didn't become the 60s until the Beatles came in 64.
Right, there you go.
So, yeah. Getting a little off topic.
We're just geeking out.
Yeah, just totally geeking out.
Yeah.
So what led from collecting toys and being a cartoon fan and gaming to actually sort of making a career of it or doing YouTube and that kind of stuff? And you produced or at least appeared in a video game documentary, a series.
Yeah.
So how did you go from fan to pro?
So it's real funny how that happened because it was totally by
Troll.
What was that?
Some game chaser or something, or toy chaser?
Early days of YouTube, when YouTube was brand new, and I think a lot of us have the same kind of story. I started watching
Angry Video Game Nerd. Yep.
The Angry Nintendo Nerd back then.
Yeah, Angry Nintendo Nerd.
And it was kind of one of those things where I thought it was so cool. I loved what he was doing, and it was that whole thing where I was like, I want to do that. I can do that.
Right.
But I want to do it about something that I can do, that I'm knowledgeable about, that I care about. I don't want to just be the Angry Video Game Nerd. I want to do something else. So I started talking about my toy collection first.
Yeah.
Started talking about just some of the He-Man collection I had at home. But I eventually developed that into my first web series, which was From Pixels to Plastic.
And how long ago did you start YouTube?
So that would have been back in end of 07, early 2008. Is probably when I started doing that.
When YouTube was still pretty, you could still get a lot of subscribers pretty quickly.
Exactly.
Right.
So I wanted to be adjacent to the video game stuff because it was popular with the Angry Nintendo Nerd.
Yeah.
So I started doing videos about toys based on video games, which is what From Pixels to Plastic is.
Yeah, right.
So I started doing that. It started getting popular. I started doing the He-Man stuff also. That started getting popular in a wholly different community.
Absolutely.
So I'm growing these two communities.
People are getting to be this age where they're getting nostalgic for this.
Exactly. So that's kind of how I met the Retroware guys. Met Lance, met John. Eventually met everybody, Jay and Billy and Pat, and that's where we kind of.
When did you meet Pat?
So I met Pat when we started working on the video game years.
Okay.
Because that was the big Retroware kind of crossover show they wanted to do. They wanted to do the documentary. So basically, all of the personalities on Retroware, plus they reached out to everybody that was pretty big in the gaming community, and that's how we came together with this. So it was during that I got to actually meet Billy and Jay and Pat, and became friends with all these guys.
Well, I started meeting the YouTubers at Screw Attack Game Convention in Dallas.
Yeah, there you go.
That's where I met Pat and Angry Video Game Nerd and Keith Apicary.
Yeah, right?
Crazy Keith.
Yeah.
Just trolling the convention basically, but in a fun way. So yeah, 2006, 2007, all this stuff, the retro gaming craze really started snowballing.
Yeah.
My first retro gaming book came out in 2007.
Oh, awesome!
So it was right around there, so it really started taking off. Anyway, we could go on forever with this stuff. I want to get you back to your table if you want to show just.
Oh yeah.
What have you got here today? DFW Toy Expo, put on by the Game Chasers.
That's right. So Jay asked me if I wanted to come out, and I was like, you know what, this is a great opportunity to go through some of my collection and purge it too. Because as collectors, sometimes we get a little.
Yeah, you gotta weed
We
stuff
gotta
out
weed
a
stuff out sometimes. So like I've got my usual Pixel Dan merch, but then I also brought some toys to sell. So
Right.
That's what's going on.
Well, I
here,
hope you make enough to pay for the gas to get back home.
Definitely, me too.
All right, well, where can people find you online, Dan?
So you can find me on YouTube. Just do a search for Pixel Dan. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. It's all the same thing. Just do a search for Pixel Dan and you'll find me.
Check out Pixel Dan online, on YouTube, etc., etc. Thank you so much.
Hey,
for the
thanks,
interview.
Brett.
All right,
Appreciate it.
Have fun at the show.
All right, man. You too.
All right, thanks, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for liking this episode, and thank you for subscribing. We'll talk to you later. Peace out.